Hi, this is McComas. Welcome back to my studio for lesson 2 in making a portrait quilt. Hopefully you've gone out and you've found 2 or 3 photos that you think you want to work with, and you've got them on a laptop and you're ready to do some photo editing work. I've chosen this picture of my stepdaughter Maya, and I'm going to be working with it. If you haven't found a photo, I'll be able to give you a version of this that you can work from. So, but I'm really hoping you've found somebody who's more personal to you. So what we're going to do is take just a second and darken the studio again so that you can see what's happening on the monitor a little bit better. You won't be able to see me, but I'll be talking to you and we'll step you through this. So we're going to take just a second and do that. All right, so we're back. We have the lights off. I want to show you some things on the screen that will help you understand what I'm going to be doing. I'm using Photoshop CS6, which is the latest version of Photoshop. Probably a lot of you don't have it. You might have other things, but I'm going to be working from this menu bar across the top. Okay, a lot of what we're going to be doing is underneath this edit bar. The image, we're going to make some changes to the image. We're going to be doing that, and that's primarily where we're going to be working. We might come over here and work in this view, but under this view button once in a while to zoom in and out. Also, I have a toolbar over on the side, and it has little icons that we're going to be working with. Okay, some of them we'll be doing, this is a crop tool. It looks like 2 corners overlapping. That's a big one we're going to be using. And then we're going to be zooming in sometimes, and we'll be using this magnifying glass, and we can zoom in and out. That's basically what we're going to be using. So if you're using a different program, these tools might be located across the top under the other menu bar. Okay, or you might not have those, but I can access these same tools up here in this word menu bar across the top. So here's another important thing to know. Every program has a little help button over here at the side. So if you can't find what I'm doing, you can click on that help button and put in a keyword and search for it. And it should bring you up the steps for how to do what I'm doing in your program. So for example, if we're going to crop this photo, you would just put the word crop in search and click on it. And it should pop up with instructions telling you how to do that process in the program that you've got. Okay, if you have an earlier version of Photoshop or Photoshop Elements, many of these same features will be the same. They'll look a little bit different, but they'll be in the same basic space. All right, so here's my picture of Maya. I've got it up on my laptop. One thing I'm going to do before I get started is darken my monitor. Most of us function on our computer with our monitor at full brightness. And when we're looking at photos, it really makes them appear brighter than they would be if we printed them. So, you know, it varies from computer to computer depending on if you have a laptop or a desktop. But I'm going to darken my screen, and it doesn't really show up much there, but when I save and print this photo, it will, what I see on the screen will be a better representation of what's going to come out when I take it to the print shop. If not, you might be looking at a really bright screen, and then when you have the photocopy printed, you end up with a much darker version of it. So this will help you avoid that. All right, first thing we're going to do is move to grayscale. We're going to eliminate all of the color, and this helps us see the values in the photo and make sure that we go from very light to very dark, because that makes a more interesting composition. So I'm going to go up here to Image and click on it, and underneath there is the word Mode, and that brings up a new menu off to the side, and I'm going to click on Grayscale. And it's going to ask me if I want to, you know, get rid of all the color, and I'm going to say, sure, just going to hit my return button. Now I'm working in black and white, and that's important. Maya still shows up. Her features are still really strong, so she's going to be a good photo to work with. All right, here's Maya in grayscale, but there's a lot of extra stuff around here. I don't want to include the road and the field around her, so I'm going to crop. I'm going to cut this picture down and focus just on her face. There's a couple of ways to do this process. One is click on this icon to the side where it has the overlapping corners. Okay, and when I move my cursor there, you know, it says crop tool. Another way is to go up here to the top to Image and bring down that menu, and if I just go down the list there it is, crop. I could do it this way as well. Okay, once I click on crop, move my cursor over the photo, and I'm going to put it where I want in the upper left-hand corner of my photo. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to drag the icon around until I get Maya's face. Okay, and then I can see what that's going to reduce to. Now in my program, I can move these sides. I can grab this little button and maybe move it over. I want to get rid of some more of that. I want to move this over, maybe get less of the background. And I don't know that I want so much down there below her neck either. So I'm going to focus in. Now, this is something not all programs have. My program puts a grid across the top and kind of divides it in thirds. And if you're familiar with the golden mean, where you want to kind of have points of interest where these lines intersect, that's helpful. But you don't have to have that, and your program may not have it. But I kind of like this version of Maya. So when I get it where I want it, all I do is hit the return button. And there it is. That's the part of the photo I'm going to be working with. If you feel like you've made a mistake, it's like, oh, I don't know that I really like that, you can go back up. I click on my edit button and I undo the crop, and suddenly I'm back where I started, and I can start over. Okay, so this process is very forgiving. You can try a couple of different things, move your crop tool around until you really find the photo that you like. Now here's the cropped version of Maya, but it's kind of small because I've just taken a portion of that original photograph. So I'm going to go up to View, and I could do a couple of things. I could zoom in, but my favorite thing is just to say, fit it on the screen. And there, now it's as big as I can get and still see all of the photo. So I'm working with it. So if you can also enlarge yours, either zoom in, but you want it to fill the screen for this next part. So we're gonna do what's called posterizing, and it creates value areas that are kind of blocked out on the photo. To do that, I'm going back up to Image, and this is in my program, under Adjustments. And I'm going to come over and go down till I find the word posterize, and there it is. Now I can tell you, I used to use an earlier version of Photoshop, and posterize was way down at the bottom. So in this latest version, they've moved it. Look up and down the menu list, but you should be able to find that word posterize. And it's a very common process, so it should be in all photo editing software. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to give me a box. So you can see what happened to Maya's face. It creates value areas, and there's a little box here that tells me how many levels. And I'm just going to click on this and move it over to the side so it's not in Maya's face. What I like to do, and what I recommend for this first project, is we want to create 5 value layers, and that way we can do our portrait quilt in 5 fabrics, going from light to dark. So here, obviously, this is only 4 levels. You can count them: 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to you can use your button. It's highlighted. If I just push the number 5, it goes up to 5 value layers. Okay, so you can see I get a much more defined face, but play with it. I'm going to move it up to 6 and then count. I still have in her face 1, 2, 3, 4, and it looks like then 5 values. And you think, well, where did number 1 go? Right here is a few tiny little dots of the lightest value, and there's a couple right here on your nose. I like values at level 6 because I have more definition in her face, and I'm just going to ignore these, and I'm going to call this space level 1. It's my lightest value. So you can do that. You can actually have 6, sometimes 7 value levels, but you're only having 5 of those levels show up in the face. So you just play around, you go up and down, and you can see how you get more definition. Okay. There's at 7 layers and at 8. But now what I'm starting to get are a lot of tiny pieces that are really important, and I kind of want to avoid that. You play around with it and see what you like. For the purpose of this project, I'm going to move forward with 6 value levels, and I think I can work with that. And if you look at this and you look at the different value levels, these are what are going to translate into pattern pieces. Okay, so I want to avoid a lot of little tiny pieces like this. I probably you won't even see this in the finished project. You won't see this little dot in the finished project. We can avoid or just ignore a lot of those little pieces. So this is Maya posterized, and it defines our value levels. And I like working with this. So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to stay like that. Now to get ready for printing this, I want a full-size printout of this I can work with. I'm going to resize my photo. And to do that, I'm going to go up here to Image, and I'm going to go down to Image Size. And it's going to open up a new menu for me. And you can see this is a case where I used a photo with low resolution. It only has 72 dots per inch, but I was able to enlarge this photo, and I think it's still going to work for me. Actually, yeah, we're going to do that. So now what I want to do is I'm going to go here to height and width. Make sure that you have constrained the proportions so that when you change the width of your photo, it will automatically change the height to keep everything in proportion. These boxes usually check automatically, but you should just make sure before you go changing things. So the longest side is the height of this, and I'm going to change this to 18 inches. Okay, and I like 18. It makes a nice size to work with. You can do it on a tabletop, and I can do this portrait quilt using just fat quarters, which I think is nice. So I can see that if it's going to be 18 inches high, I'm just going to be a little over 13 and a half inches wide. So I can live with that. I'm going to click OK. And what just happened is this picture went to full size. So I can see when I go to cut out my pattern pieces, I'm going to be dealing with shapes that are this big. They seemed really tiny before, but they're not so tiny now. Okay, there's what her eye is going to look like. Now that's a little disturbing to have a giant eye looking at you. So I'm going to go back to view, and I'm going to tell it to fit on the screen so I can go back to see what I'm looking at. Okay. The important thing now is to save your photo, give it a new name, and save it to what I call a thumb drive, a little portable file that you can take to a print shop and print it. So I'm going to go up here to File. I'm going to say Save As. Okay. And I'm going to give it a new name, and I'm going to put I'm going to call it Maya Quilt. All right. I also want to change the format. When you take this to a print shop that will print it on a large piece of paper for you. Now, if you're printing it on a home printer and you can accommodate this size, you don't have to worry about the format. But if you're taking it to a print shop, I go to something like FedEx office, or you can go to a local blueprint shop. They can print those for you. They like to work with a PDF file. So I'm going to go down to Format, and I'm going to change this to Photoshop PDF. And then I'm going to hit Save, and it's going to ask me a couple questions, and I'm going to say, sure, it's all good. It's okay. And that will save it. Okay, and that's good too. Sure, and that will save. Just be sure that you've chosen your location. Now I'm saving this back to my laptop, but you're going to want to save yours to, it goes by different names, a flash drive or a thumb drive, something portable that you can take with you to the print shop. Okay? So, in the next week, you want to get your photo ready to go, take it to a shop, get it printed, and you're going to come back with a big piece of paper. And next week, we're going to talk about how to make the pattern and get you started on that. Once you've got your photo, though, posterized like this and ready to print, be sure that you go online and submit it. Let us see what you're doing. Let us see the next stage of your project. And that will enter you in the drawing, because at the end of these 8 lessons, we're going to choose someone's name, and I'm going to make a photo portrait quilt for them. And it just might be you. So stick with us, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.